welcome everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for our little all about camp session as we're gearing up for camp this summer. Before we kick things off with all of the questions and things you guys want to know about camp, we will all go around and introduce ourselves because we have both directors on this call and then also a bunch of our awesome summer staff that are going to be out there with us this summer, who I know are dying to answer all of your questions. So I'll start with my name is Minion. I am the camp director, and I have been coming to camp. Oh gosh, I'm probably approaching 20 years in total between my time as a camper and then my time as a counselor and then also as a director. So it's been a while, familiar with GCC from all of the angles, and just really excited for this summer altogether. And I will let Jeb introduce himself and we'll popcorn all around.
All right. Thank you so much, Minion. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeb. I am the program director out at camp, which means I get to focus on all the fun stuff like games, songs, activities, all that good stuff. My first year as director was last year, but I have quite a lot of experience out at GCC before that. My first year on counseling staff was 2017, and then my first year as a camper was 2012. So camp is a place that has been near and dear to my heart for quite some time, and I'm excited that I get to spend yet another summer out there. I am going to popcorn it over to String Bean.
Hi everyone, I'm Stringbean. This is my fourth summer out at camp, working on staff, and in the off season, I'm studying to be a math teacher. I will pass it over to Lavender.
Hi everyone, my name's Lavender. I'm going on my third summer at GCC, and in the off season, I'm studying to be a social worker at the University of Oregon. And then I'll give it to Stitch.
I'm Stitch. This is my 9th year coming to camp as a camper and on staff for about 3 years. I've been on staff. This is my first year as a counselor. And on the off season, I'm a student at OSU studying zoology. And I'll pass it over to Blossom.
Hi, I'm Blossom. I did 1 year at camp and then I'm new to being a camp counselor. On the off season, I'm studying at Lewis and Clark, biology student.
Hi, I'm Patches. This is my fourth year out here at camp as a counselor. And in the off season, I am working as a PCA these days.
Thank you to the awesome summer team. These are a few of the friendly faces that you'll see when you drop your kiddo off at camp this summer, along with many others who will be out there for the full summer. So we have some questions that were already submitted along the way, but I also want to open it up to the people on the call first. If you have any questions that you've been dying to have answered, feel free to either drop it in the chat or just go ahead and unmute and ask them. Or if you don't have any questions at this point, we also have a list that we can jump to.
So we got multiple requests for what a regular day at camp looks like. What can somebody expect if it is their very first time coming to camp?
That is a great place to start. I will give like a little brief overview of what our daily schedule looks like, and then I might throw it to some of our counselors to throw in more of the fun side of things. A day at camp is pretty consistent throughout the week. We always start with breakfast. This is assuming we're already at camp, so after the day that we've all arrived. So tests and shots always before breakfast is when we'll do all of our blood sugar monitoring. Insulin doses when your camper will meet with our amazing doctors and health house staff before every single meal. So we'll do that breakfast, and then that's when we move into our morning activity rotations. Campers will have the choice to choose between what we consider a high activity and a low activity. Really all that means is that one of them is going to be a little more cardio focused, so running around in our field playing some games, or maybe headed to the ANC to do some arts and crafts. We'll have 2 morning rotations with a delicious snack in between, because we eat every 2 hours approximately at camp, which is one of the best things about camp is that we're never hungry. After that, right, we kind of keep going throughout our day, do a little camp cleanup because we got to keep camp clean. And then we'll move into another test and shots time before lunch. After lunch, we'll do a little rest and relaxation time. So just a little bit of time for campers to unwind because we spend the whole day going and so busy that a lot of our campers, especially if you're like our high school campers, like they love a good nap during that time. So it's actually really beneficial for everyone. After that, we have a archery time, and this year we're doing something a little different. When we offer archery, we're also going to be having some other options of really awesome people that we're bringing in, a lot from the outside that have careers in different art fields and things like that want to teach our campers something, and also highlighting the talents that our staff has. So not just our normal ANC and games, but really like things that our staff is passionate about and want to teach kids about. So that's really exciting for us. After that, another snack, pool time, which everyone loves. And then we have a little bit after pool time of yard time, which is a little more of like free time throughout the day. And also when our camp store opens. After that, test and shots again, dinner. And then usually in our evenings, we do a whole camp activity. So this is where the entire camp comes together and does one big activity to kind of end our evening all together. After that, we'll do showers because we've been outside all day and it gets stinky out at camp. And then we'll do our nighttime snack. I would love, though, if one of our counselors maybe wants to dive into a little more about either what our activity rotations look like, the things that we offer, or our evening activities as well. Jeb, did I miss something?
Yeah, well, I just want to get a little bit of the camper perspective here. Stitch, you were a camper. What were some of the highlights of a typical day of camp? Were there any times a day where you were like more looking forward to? What were your favorite sort of scheduled moments out at camp, I guess?
I think I would always look forward to pool time. That was my favorite. And then also I loved the arts and crafts time because every day would be something different. And that was really exciting. And then also all the different activities were fun, but I think pool time was definitely my favorite. And I think a lot of other people's favorite time. So
Patches or string bean. Do you guys want to talk about some of those activities we do up in the field, maybe?
We have a lot of really fun activities that we do. We have one of our big activities that we do out in our field is our campfire, where it's almost like a talent show kind of thing. It's this really cool sort of event that we do. Some of the other things that we do, we got dodgeball. We have a game called Dragon's Den, which I still struggle to understand, but is really fun and this very sort of complicated kind of game. It's great. It's great. Um, we have a lot of really fun things that we get to do out there, and we get really creative with it too. A lot of different variations that come in every year and new ideas that we bring in that are super fun. And one of the other activities that we do at camp that it's one of my personal favorites is wake ups in the mornings with campers. We want to wake them up in a fun way. We want to get their energy moving. And so we also like to come up with really exciting ways to do that. We have done Cowboy Wake Up was a big one last year that went very well. We really Bad Music Wake Up, one of my personal favorites. We've even done Dodgeball Wake Up, things like that. So there's a lot of really fun ways to get people up and moving early in the morning. That's one of my favorites.
I think too, one of the things about our the programming as the program director, one of the things that I really like is we take full advantage of the fact that there's a lot of people together in one space, and we really take advantage of the fact that we are out in the wilderness and have a really unique setting that we can use. So the games and activities you are going to play at camp, they are pretty unique to camp because you need at least 50 people to play them, right? So I think that's part of the reason why I love coming back to camp because I don't get to play dodgeball that often in my everyday life. But now I do because it is literally my job. Do we have any more thoughts from our counseling staff? Anyone want to chime in, or do we have any other questions from the audience, or should I read another one off my list?
My grandson, who's been excited about camp for 4 years, is now old enough to go to family camp on the weekend. And so maybe at the end, you could address how that may be different, how that schedule may be different than regular camp.
Is he coming for day camp or the overnight one?
Overnight.
Overnight. Amazing. Okay, great. I mean, what I love most about family camp is it's kind of like GCC's greatest hits crammed into like the 24 hours you're there, right? So when we talk about like we pack it all in, we really try to, because like our goal with family camp obviously is for the camper to have fun and just get familiar with camp and to get excited for that full week of camp, because it can be intimidating for a lot of campers to go away from home for that long. Right. So we really want to make it the most fun. We kind of run through a very similar schedule as we honestly do in a typical week of camp. So like once you guys arrive, I believe it's on a Friday, I think. If I'm wrong, sorry, I misspoke. Jeb
right.
knows the date better than me.
I'm looking it up now.
Okay. I think in the past it's been arrival on kind of that Friday, late afternoon, early evening, and we'll, do some dinner and that great stuff. The big thing that we do on Friday is usually like a whole camp game. So that might look like kickball or capture the flag or something like that. And then also campfires are the other big one that we like to do with our family campers. Campfires are so much fun because our staff goes all out for them. And there's something so magical about being around the actual campfire in that dusk time for kids and singing the silly songs and doing the skits and all of that fun stuff. So that's kind of what the earlier portion looks like. And the thing that's different about our overnight family camp than with the day camp is that with that overnight family camp, it's usually a little bit smaller group of people. And so the campers really have an opportunity to connect and kind of form some friendships early on with those kids that they'll see in their week of camp when they go for a full week of camp, which is really, really cool. And a lot of them look forward to meeting those other kids. We do similar as we would at a week of camp, like walkthroughs of test and shots and having that kind of health house experience that they'll experience in a real week of camp. Just again, for that whole familiarity aspect. Jeb, do you want to jump in with some additional details?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about family camp is we like to think of it as a little bit of a teaser for what's to come. We want to give our families a good idea, or especially our campers, a good idea of what a full week of camp looks like, but just enough so they go, "Ooh, I want more of that." So we give a taste of everything basically, and everyone goes home exhausted but excited for the following summer when they get to try it out for a full week.
They went to day camp last year and actually
Got
with
it.
you and really connected. I think my little guy connected with you. So this time they're going to the overnight camp.
Wonderful.
So will my grandson be separated from his parents quite
That's a
a
good
bit during
question.
that? Or
That's an awesome question. Yes and no. Not I say yes. It's not like a legitimate separation, right? Like at any point that they need their parent, like we're happy to get that for them. We do have strategic times built in where we like parents go and do one activity and kids go and do one activity. So it might be that kids are playing a game in the field while parents are doing even something similar to like what we're doing tonight, like a Hope-Mongering session where they can connect with other parents in the A&C. So they're not separated in the sense that like we're like, you cannot go see your parents ever. But we do try to build in some of those times where they are doing other activities. Again, same for that kind of exposure and familiarity of camp, right? Because when they go to a full week, their parents won't be on the other side of camp. So we're hoping that they get familiar, like asking our counselors questions with things they need. Even like diabetes management wise, like coming up to, it can be intimidating coming up to a stranger and being like, I feel funny, right? Like, I don't know if I'm low or high or my sensor's beeping. So kind of getting them used to that experience of letting some other people that aren't the people that they're used to helping to take care of them. At nighttime, they'll sleep in the cabins with their families. So all of the families kind of get a little corner of the cabin and they all bunk together. So at night, they're not separated. We do still run our like night checks and things like that. So it is really that true simulation of what a week of camp is like, but there is access to parents. So we do try to balance it. And there's also some activities that we do as whole families. So like capture the flag is the most fun when like siblings and parents and grandparents and whoever came with them to camp is all playing together. So we really try to find that balance between the two.
sounds like a great program. I'm excited for them.
Yeah, it'll be super fun.
We got a question about how pickups and drop-offs work. So I'm going to hand this over to a counselor. I'm going to hand it over to Lavender. Lavender, what can a camper and Minnie and I will handle the parent side of things, but what can a camper expect if they're coming to camp for the first time on that first day?
Yeah, if they're coming to camp for the first day, we kind of like get them integrated as much as we can. So we're very friendly. We go and we meet you guys at the car. We help you with your bags, bring them down, and then we kind of like take you through the check-in process. And parents are allowed to go, or family members were allowed to go through the check-in process together. But most of the time we try to get that engagement with the campers. So we're pulling them if they want to, we're like not pulling them, but we're kind of asking them if they want to come and play games in the yard or do other activities with either with a counselor or other activities with other campers who are probably like also in that same checkout line. But typically that's kind of how it works. And then when everybody's about situated, we play some icebreaker games and then we move into test and shot time on a regular like drop off day. Pickup, we do awards for every camper. So everybody will kind of get like an award based on something that they've done or some like improvement that they've kind of showed interest in along the way. It could be as little as like trying to do a cannonball in the deep end of the pool to like trying to what's it called? Trying to like perfect a certain skill on like ping pong or however. So it could be something that just really speaks to the camper. And then we will give the award. So we'll go through this whole ceremony of awards, and each camper will get one tailored to them. And then it's the same thing, kind of. Parents are allowed to go through the health house, collect materials, all that, and they say goodbyes. They get the camp stores open. Some of the campers like to sign shirts at the end. But yeah, that's typically what we usually say on a pickup and a drop off. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything.
I'm going to hand it off to Minion really quick to go over the parent experience of drop off. But I do want to just be fully clear. As you can imagine, awards is long because we are giving 60 campers unique awards, all with a story. We get very fast by the end of the summer. But at a certain point, it is still 60 kids that we're all giving individual unique awards. And we want to make sure that we do acknowledge and give each kid their time because these are awards that are really well thought out by our staff, and we hope are things that do, as Lavender was saying, really speak to that camper's experience and week at camp. So we want to make sure that we're not skipping past them because it is their time. And in the same way, I just want to say check-in is long. This is something that we know, and it mostly comes down to we want to be able to gather as much information about that camper so that we can speak to all of the specific medical needs each and every camper might have. Because as you can imagine, everyone does diabetes different, and we want to be able to know what to expect and how to really speak to that experience as well. Minion, what am I missing on the parent experience?
I mean, I think you covered the big parts of it, right? Parents are just always helpful throughout the process, right? To add in any details about the things that's going to help make their camper have a successful week. I do like to add into about the awards is like, that's something that if you're a kid that you've gone to camp forever, like I still have some of my awards from when I was a camper. So it's actually a very, at least for me, it was a very meaningful thing, right? Because it just signifies like the years I've been coming and the experiences I had and the connections I made. So I love awards. They're great. From the parent side, in terms of drop off, it's kind of like as Lavender described, we'll have a counselor who will walk you through the whole process. Probably the most um, intensive part of it is when you go through the health house. So that will be when you and your child go in together. And that's the time when you're meeting with like our nurses and our doctors, really to give them a detailed rundown of everything from medicine your kid takes that's not related to diabetes, other diagnoses, all of your pump settings, all of just any and everything really. And they have all the questions that they will ask you, and is also a really good time for you to share just any additional information. They're super thorough, they're super detailed and organized about it all, which really just helps make the whole week more successful. But during that time, yeah, like I said, you will meet with a nurse first, and then you will actually have a time to sit down with our endocrinologist who is there for the week and going to be the one who's dosing your kid and making those decisions about their diabetes management. So that's a really cool experience. For some kids and some families, actually their endocrinologist or doctor that they see on the regular, and sometimes it's another one, but they're all incredible physicians that spend and dedicate their time to camp and really take pride in the work that they do and love sitting down with those families and getting that information, because just like our counseling team and our kitchen team, we all want your camper to have the most successful time at camp. So the doctors are a crucial part of that. The other big part that we haven't mentioned is you will also sit down typically with a dietitian and to kind of go over any food or food related allergies, concerns like that. That could be anything from like, my kid absolutely will not drink milk no matter what, even though it's not lactose intolerance or dairy free, or if they have a nut allergy or things like that. That's another important step that we take to just make sure that the food that they're getting throughout the week and any allergies are met in that regard. Besides that, those are kind of the big two things for parents and guardians when they drop off their kid. Always nice to check out the camp store. You can add money as the adult to your kids' card, which they can then spend throughout their week at camp. We just have like a little tracking system so that because we open up the camp store every day after swim time. So parents can add that to that, so their kid has a little bit of money to spend. And we have everything from like fidget spinners to stickers to sweatshirts and everything in between that a kid could want. And then pickup days are pretty easy as the adult. The only big thing to note there is that you do have to check out your camper from camp. So you do need to head into the health house one more time. This is much speedier than our check-in process. And just verify that you are an authorized pickup as the adult who's picking them up, because we do check those things. And then also, this is also your time to like pick up any extra pump supplies that you had that we didn't use throughout the week, or medications or things like that, to send that all home with you. I think that's about it for pickup and drop off, unless anybody thinks of anything I haven't thought of.
We have a question. This is a pretty quick one about how meds work out at camp. Essentially, that's going to be a conversation that you have with the medical team upon drop off. And they will keep track of the dosages and the times that your camper typically takes their medications, and they will be administered properly during test and shots time typically. Do I have that accurate, Minion?
Yeah, I would say if your normal schedule for taking those medications falls within our either like, if it's in the morning with a meal, right, it'll be during that breakfast test and shots. Or I also know a common one for a lot of campers is in the evenings, and we do that at our nighttime test and shots. We also do have campers that need medications at different times of day. So if it's something that they have to take right when they wake up, a counselor will always walk them over to the health house right once we do wake up, and they'll get their medication that they need. So our health house, like I said, we have registered nurses who are in charge of all that medication and verifying dosages and the times and things like that. And they're really on top of taking care of all that. But I would say most commonly what we see is kids taking their medications at that breakfast test and shots or that evening test and shots.
I know one thing we get asked about a lot is our phone policy, which has not changed since last year. String Bean, do you want to let them know how GCC approaches the phones?
I can do my best, and someone might have to step in and assist me.
Sure.
Our goal is that the phones are used as a medical device. We try to keep that, or they are with the campers all of the times when they would need to hear an alarm or anything like that. If their CGM is being used through their phone, if they're checking their blood sugar that way. But we also try to keep them off the body if it's during something like a high event where a phone could fly out of a pocket and break. We don't want that. So we put them on a table that's nearby, and then campers can go check them whenever they need during that activity. Yeah, our goal is that they are a tool used for medical reasons, and that they aren't distracting or taking away from the overall camp experience. We want campers to be fully immersed, and the phones can kind of take away from that, so we try to limit that as much as possible.
Great summary, String Bean. Just to add on a few things, like String Bean said, right, the whole goal is if they're not using it, right? If it's not a necessary for their management of their diabetes, for example, if you're like on a T-Slim where you also get your Dexcom readings to your pump, right? And have it all right there. You don't necessarily need to be carrying your phone around with you all the time. So the goal is that we do help kids get unplugged because it's so nice actually. And as someone who has been a camper and been on counseling staff, like it's one of the most refreshing things that I look forward to actually now, even more so than I did as a camper, of like unplugging for a little bit. But as Stringbean was saying, we will never take away a phone that is being used for a medical device, right? We totally, like, I'm someone who's on the Tandem Mobi, right? And the Mobi is completely controlled by my phone. So obviously in that situation, we're not taking away that phone. We don't really take away phones at all, but we encourage campers to unplug if they can, leave them in the cabins, or like Stringbean said, those campers that need to carry their phones with you, we have some designated spots where we can leave them so that they can still see them. They still can get the notifications. But like Stringbean said, we don't want any broken phones at camp either. So it's nice to kind of have a place to set those down so that they don't get broken up in the field. At night too, they typically just plug it in some certain spots in our cabins so we can get all those blood sugar readings. We can hear those alerts. They're also connected to our overnight monitoring system, but it is also nice to have those nearby so we can do our routine nighttime checks as well. Jeb, you got anything?
Yeah, I think the big thing about the phones in general, it's less mostly the thing that we're trying to avoid more than anything else is the standard impulsive, my brain has some downtime right now. I'm gonna like pull out my phone and give myself a dopamine boost, you know? So the main thing is that they are within that 33 feet range that a Dexcom typically needs, but they are not right on their body. They are on a table right over there, you know, so that the focus can continue to be on the activities that they have come to camp for. Because you can go on your phone anytime. You can't go to camp anytime. So we just want to make sure that those experiences are, you know, being experienced, for lack of a better word, to their fullest extent.
I saw, I get their regular emails, and I saw that there were a lot of postings for open positions for camp. So it looks like a lot of new staff. How do you train new counselors specifically? And how do you guys keep from getting burned out for a full summer? Keep the energy going.
Oh my gosh. If we knew the perfect answer to that question, all of our problems would be fixed, right? Oh gosh, I wish. That's the thing that like Jeb and I as directors come back to every year, right? It's like, how do we prevent that burnout? Luckily, we do have incredible staff. We have, gosh, would you say like our counseling staff is 60% returners, 40% new? Jeb, does that feel accurate?
That sounds about right. We actually do have a higher percentage of returners than we typically do.
Yeah. So the majority of our East cabin, those are mostly all returners, or actually everyone in that cabin is either a returning counselor or someone who has been to camp before. So it's really cool to see kind of that experience and also that knowledge of camp carried through. Our staff are put through a pretty intensive and exhausting staff training, but they do amazing with it. We actually have about like, I guess it's technically like 1.5 weeks, but split up over 2 weeks of staff training, just so we can get all of those new people on board. And that includes everything from how to play kickball to how to test a blood sugar, how to count carbs at mealtime. And depending on what role you are at camp, you have a lot of different trainings that you'll attend. So it's looks a little different for our counselors versus our health house staff, because obviously our health house staff has a little more intensive training on the medical side of things than our counseling staff does, although they still also go through a really intensive training. Everyone at camp does for diabetes management, but it looks a little different depending on your department. Preventing burnout, gosh, that is the biggest question. Tips from the crowd? What do you guys do? How do you prevent burnout?
I think everybody sort of prevents it a little bit differently, but the main thing that I think translates to a lot of people is just getting your rest. You know, we have breaks as counselors and as staff in general set for us. And so a lot of one of the mantras that gets told to a few of us is just, take your breaks. Sometimes we're in such a mood that we just want to keep working through. We have other tasks that we want to complete. But at the end of that day, we're exhausted. And so people can take that break however they want to. They can relax, they can read a book. But ultimately, that comes down to each individual person. You just got to know when you need to relax and take that time.
Yeah. I also feel like I'm always like saying the same thing to like counselors as sometimes I am saying to campers too. Like, I know it's so fun to whisper to your friends in like the bunk beds at night, but like, please go to sleep, right? Like we all need sleep. We don't need grumpy campers. We don't need grumpy counselors in the morning. So like, as fun as it is to stay up till 2 a.m. socializing, like everybody needs their sleep. So that's always my tip, right? Like get the sleep anytime you can.
I think another thing too that I always try to tell our staffs is to uh, try to make every single week unique, even if, it's a completely different set of campers. Keep challenging yourself to try new things and to take a different approach than you've had before for your sake. So, as a camper, one of the nice things is there's a pretty good chance that some of the jokes, some of the bits that you get to see during your week are completely unique to you. So there's no telling what your camp experience was compared to someone else's camp experience. And to me, that just sort of builds itself into the overall lore and mythology of Gales Creek Camp. And a lot of times we get those campers who come back as counselors and they build on those stories. So that's always exciting to see.
So my daughter doesn't have a pump, so that's okay, right? She can just give herself a shot.
Totally. So whether you're on a pump or whether you're on shots, we all go through the like same general test and shots routine. And then when you get into what we call like our shot rooms, which is actually from when we used to all be on shots, right? Is where that name comes from. So when you get into their shot room, they'll have the syringes and the insulin that your camper uses and needs to do that dosage that the doctor gave them as well. So yep, totally fine.
Cool. So I think maybe when you're giving percentages earlier, you were talking about staff, but so my daughter's in 9th grade. Will the middle school and high school sessions have 60 campers too?
I don't know what the exact numbers we're at right now. I know our middle school sessions are some of our more full ones. I don't think any of us, like our full capacity is like that 60. So I don't think any of our camps at this point are at our full capacity. I would say a lot of times last summer we hit more of like that 50 camper range.
Mm-hmm.
And then but it kind of just varies from week to week. So yeah, I would
60
say
really
like,
is the maximum. Yeah.
yeah, 60 is like we booked every spot, like we got a wait list, all of the good things. But I would say realistically, I feel like most of our sessions last summer ran around that 50 number.
Yeah, and we actually did change some of the sessions a little bit so we could spread those campers out a little bit more. So yeah.
And about what percentage of the folks are new in the middle school one?
Ooh, that is a good question.
I'm just asking because my
Yeah.
daughter's newly diagnosed in January, and so she's not gonna know anybody there, and that's
Totally.
like
It's
one of
not
her fears. And
uncommon.
I went to camp, so like I try to explain that, of course.
Yeah.
But I know that some kids are diagnosed pretty young and might come back over and over and over.
Yeah. I would say for a middle school camp, you're still going to see quite a few kids who have never been to camp before. I would say it's really that 10th and 11th grade week where you're probably not going to see as many, just because kids, obviously a lot of kids are diagnosed younger. We're getting so many that are diagnosed older too now that part isn't a huge factor. But I would say with our 10th and 11th graders, they have a little more autonomy over like deciding if they're going to come to camp or not. And a lot of them are like, well, I would only get to come for 1 year, so why come, right? Like that kind of different mentality. But I would say with our middle school campers, you're still going to have a good handful of people that have never been to camp before. I honestly don't really know the percentage. Like, I don't really want to,
that's okay.
I don't really want to
Just-
ballpark and be way off. But I would say it's very, I don't know if I've ever experienced a non-high school week camp that one camper has been the only new camper. So
Okay.
there's definitely plenty to go.
And I'm sure you all do things to help people like group up and stuff.
Definitely. Yeah. Patches, was that where you were going to add in? Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I was just going to add, I think we're a really lucky camp because we have a lot of kids who are incredibly welcoming, even if, especially the ones who have been here a long time, they sort of take on this almost a leadership role or mentorship role for people who are just coming in for the first time. And they make it a point to be very inclusive. And I think that that's great. So not only are we as staff making a point to make them comfortable and show them all these cool things so they can join in and not feel that sort of awkward tension, but so are the kids too. They really want to make sure that the environment is comfortable for them.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. It's been really wonderful to meet, our campers and their caregivers, and I really look forward to seeing all of y'all at camp this year. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.